My title is Cover Crop Scrooge. The fact that sometimes we try to find ways to maximize the most out of our cover crop. So anyways, with it, there we go. Just so you got a background, our farm, we're in Darke County. We do kind of diverse operation. Cereal rye, medium red clover. We do some forages, oats, a variety of things. We also do some cleaning and conditioning of seeds that are used for a variety of things. One is whiskey. A portion of the seed that we raise actually goes into a local distillery down around Dayton. So our rye is in there along with our corn. We do some custom butchering, and we're really trying to diversify the farm. So my goal is to kind of give you just an idea of what we do to kind of show you that we're really trying to implement these practices and do it in an efficient, economical way. Because when I have farmers call me and say, what do you recommend? My goal is, one, to meet their goals, and two, to make sure it's economical, because you got to keep going every year. So I kind of broke it down into like 5 areas that I really want to look at today. These are kind of the top ones that I think come to mind with cover crops, and maybe ways that we can kind of save or look at really getting the most out of our cover crop, but yet saving a little bit of some expenses. So just a background, I'm sure everybody's familiar with this. Cereal rye is 56 pounds in a bushel. I always have to go back and remind folks of kind of the bushels and what's in there weight-wise, because we generally look at purchasing some of these seeds per pound anymore. And this is what I do with a lot of my students is you need to know the bushels too, or what's in a bushel. So we look at a variety of these. So when we go to this, I know we can purchase these seeds, and I'm going to use cereal rye as an example just for standardization. We generally see it in 50, or in the case for our farm, we generally sell it in a bushel increments throughout the farm. But when we look at it and break these costs down, people call me and they're like, well, hey, I can go get my cereal rye for $15. $15 a what? Is my question. So realize that we need to make sure we're talking apples to apples with this. So when you go out and purchase this, make sure you understand you're purchasing either a bushel or per weight is kind of the key. So what kind of savings could you see there? Well, potentially 80 cents if you make sure everything's apples to apples. That's the key right there. The next thing is germination. I think this is one that we sometimes forget about in our cover crop seeding world. We condition our seeds. We are very, very particular on how we condition these seeds because it's what preserves our germination. So if you do save seed, be aware this is something you want to make sure you pay attention to. Harvesting is key, hitting those targets. We try to get it at about 15%, and then we begin to cool and pull moisture out. We do it a variety of ways. We've done it on old flatbeds. As we've increased production, we've actually used just large 385 bushel wagons where we will insert these tube fans and draw all the heat and moisture out, which allows us to really cool that grain down in an efficient manner. I understand you can use grain bins and so forth, but the thing we do is we actually back it in a barn, and the barn is usually cooled down a little bit that we can keep it at about 70 degrees and about 60% moisture or relative humidity, so we're able to dry that down and preserve our germination. With that, it also saves on potential storage issues with Indian meal moth and the dreaded weevil. So if you can get it right the first time, it saves a lot of headaches. Now let's look at it this way in the cost savings. My seeding rate is about 1 million seeds per acre. How do I do that? Well, it's pretty easy. To get my final seeding rate, I take 1 million divided by the percent germination. Yes, I know we got pure seed and any inert material and so forth, but for the ease of this, I want to just look at, let's just figure the germination, because you can purchase this seed, but you can see that, look at the price difference as we go down related to germination. As germ goes up, you get more bang for your buck. So if we're seeing some seed that maybe only have an 85% germination, to hit our target million, we're going to need 1.1, 1.2 million seeds. That relates to about 65 pounds. And that's about 17 and a half, 1766 an acre. Whereas if we're hitting these 95s or better, guess what? We're not requiring as much seed. So what do we look at benefit-wise? About $86 to $1.86 something a bushel or an acre. Now, what if prices go up like we've seen in sometimes? We can potentially see even greater savings between $1 to $2 an acre. So just keep this in mind when you're looking at purchasing these seeds. It's the same thing with purchasing what? Corn and soybeans. You want to maximize and look at the germination, especially in interseeding rates. So really important to kind of look at that, look at the tag. And as you move forward with this too, you're going to see if you're getting into certain cost share programs, guess what? Germination is a factor in making those seeding rates, because you do have to provide those seed tags. So with that, we've been trying to develop these mixes for individuals to meet H2 Ohio and NRCS, which on one hand, it's great because we get these diverse blends. They can be cost effective. And, you know, we at least have some guidance. I say that. It's kind of funny how you say the government's providing some guidance, but it's nice to have something to reference if you're looking at creating your own mixes too. Now, just a caveat and some things to pay attention to when you look at or you're applying for cost share and doing blending mixes. Make sure that you're accounting for the germination and pure seed within that, so that you're meeting the requirements of the program when you submit seed tags. If you're using coatings on certain seeds, make sure you understand how much coating is in that portion. And if you do any broadcast or aerial seeding, make sure you bump it up about 20%. That's some of the tips that just be aware of when you're doing this, because as most of you know, we're looking at some different methods of application. Technology's coming. We're going to use it. We've used it on our farms, and I'm looking forward to the progression. Here's some of the charts that we look at in seeding dates related to H2 Ohio, NRCS, and so forth. It's that 340 standard that if you can look up and look through that information. But it breaks down the categories, you know, the seasonality, the type, and so forth. But for this example, I just want to look at one of the mixes. I want to look at two mixes. So a pure seeding mix, if you look at winter rye, it's about 50 pounds is what they're recommending as a pure stand. Now, if you want to do a mix, you can go to the half and say, example, we want to mix some wheat and rye. Well, they recommend 25 pounds of rye, 32 pounds of winter wheat. So we're at 57 pounds total for that mix. Well, say you're not into a two-way, you're more a three-way type of person. We can look at maybe incorporating some barley, mixing it up a little bit. We're still at 57 pounds, but we can look at taking advantage of some of those three-way blends. Now you're saying, boy, we keep blending. Is this going to get more costly? What do you guys think? Think it's going to start getting costly as we add these blends? Yeah, okay. Good. So I ran the numbers based on a couple pricings, and these are relevant prices. Wheat was over $6 a bushel or so. It came out to be about 11 cents a pound. Cereal rye, I ran at 15, so we're at 27 cents. So if you look at a single, and I didn't take out for germination in here, because again, I want to make this as easy and to kind of show a point here. If we look at a single seeding rate species of rye at 50 pounds, we're at 13.5 an acre. Now we go to blend a little wheat, which is a little cheaper, a little bit of more, you have a little management in there. But look, we dropped our price down by a couple dimes. And then if we mix the barley in, which I figured barley at like $8 a bushel right now because I'm 8 to 9, whatever. I know that's what some of the malting styles are. We can get that down a little more. Now you're going to see, well, why is there a mixing charge? Generally in this, you do have that labor involved with doing these cocktail mixes, okay? So we can potentially, just looking at different blends, guess what? We could accomplish a couple things. Some cost savings and some diversity. So it's kind of interesting how we can begin to look at this. Now you're asking, well, how do we blend? I know that there's commercial blenders that you can put a ton of seed in, and there you go. There's also other ways. If you have an old cement mixer, those are perfect. If you have some Pro boxes laying around, you can generally put about 2,000 pounds in there and mix it back and forth, and it does a really nice job. So this is an option here too. If you want to purchase your seeds, then you can begin to look at developing some mixing yourself. What are we looking at? Maybe 50 cents to $3, depending on how many pounds you're looking at. Generally, 3 cents to 5 cents a pound to mix is kind of that average. We look at application methods. Direct seeding, it does take some time. We know we generally get a better stand. We look at drones. We did this on the farm this year. The thing with drone application, we have to increase it by about 20%. And our luck this year was it was dry. So our establishment was not near as nice. And then we do have vertical tillage, broadcasting, those options that are out there. So looking at just a rough price comparison, a drone application, when you go over an allotted amount, this is when I'm working with a drone applicator. If you go over like 30 pounds, it goes up to $16. If it's below 30 pounds, this is another way to do it. You can probably get away with $13 or so an acre. I have to include the increased seeding cost in there, so we're about $18.70. The direct seeding, if you look at our 2022 custom rates through Ohio State, it's $21.20 to seed small grains. And roughly for vertical tillage and broadcast, it's probably about $24. So you can see if you would go with a drone method, you could save between $2.50 to $5.50 an acre. Now there is a caveat to this. Risk is establishment, okay? Just remember, that is a risk. So real quick, since we're in Scrooge time, we got to take old Bob Cratchit here and let him crunch the numbers and see what's going down, right? Well, we can look at 80 cents potential savings if we make sure we're paying attention to our seed costs. 86 to 2 with our germination. Mixing, we can look at a 38 to 52 cents. Blending ourselves, $50 to $3. Application, $2.50 to $5. So these are some options here. I'm just throwing out. I'm I'm a farm boy from Dark County, just trying to make things work and really implementing these on our farms. And I do it because of these guys here. And I left this one out. There's a number 6. There's number 6 to all this. How do you save money? Well, you know how I showed you the cost savings? I didn't get any cost savings on this method with the kids marketing our cover crops. You know why? Well, I had to buy food at the event. Then I had to buy snacks. Wait, hold on. Guess what? I had to buy extra snacks. And then, don't forget, you know what they wanted? They wanted their cut. So you know what? This one wasn't a cost savings for me. But I will say, the best part about this was we had some good consumer education. My kids had fun, learned. And we had those purple top radishes and daikons, or those purple top turnips and the daikon radishes. We had more people come up and ask, why do you have these? Do you grow these on your farm for vegetables or whatever? And we're like, no, we grow them as a cover crop. We explained what we were doing with our cover crop. And people were like, we haven't had purple top turnips in years. You know what the first thing was sold out? Purple top turnips. So, with that, I appreciate y'all coming out today. Hopefully you take something from this. I'm going to say one thing as we move into agriculture. We got to appreciate what we're doing, and we got to appreciate our consumers and educate them and let them know what we are doing. Small, large, whatever, because it's just, we got to move it down to the next generation. Sorry, did I go over? Okay, any questions, folks? Yeah. We have in the past. It's been a long while. Actually, what I do a lot of is I actually will dig a good 6 to 8 inch depth, and I will bring it in and use it in my classes. And I will demonstrate, like I showed them 5 different soils. One was a soil that was continually worked for the past 6 years, conventionally anhydrous ammonia, the whole works. That wasn't my field. I had to borrow that. Then I showed a 3-year, or a 3 years with medium red clover, 2 years with medium red clover, oats, no-till soybeans with a cover crop. And to add on to it, I have an old pasture that's probably been in there for 100 years. And I show these soils. And the students are just literally impressed that we can begin to get more of that granular form using some of these perennial and some of the species blends. So to your point, I haven't done a pit, but I actually just bring my shovel out and I take farmers and friends out. And I'm like, this is what we're doing, this is how we do it, and this is why we do it. I think we all can take a shovel or a spade and take a friend out. And I'll be honest, if you throw a cooler full of soda pops on the back, they really get into it too. Not students, but farmer friends, sorry. So, yes, we have, and it does open their eyes to see how the transformation is. So, good question.
Just a quick question, Greg. How are you doing? Right here.
Sorry. Oh.
I wanted to ask you about your cover crops, mixing them with the cement mixer.
Yeah.
You say you can sprinkle in radish, and I think you said clover. What kind of clovers do you like using in mixes? You have certain ones favor?
I like crimson clover is one of my faves. I love crimson. A little bit, yep. I'm still, and I guess it's just my old nature, I'm still a medium red clover guy because they are just tried and true. They can handle our soils. They do a fabulous job just breaking up that soil, and I'm thoroughly impressed. And did anybody listen to the gal from Ontario yesterday? And in the chart where she showed the release of nitrogen, I was really impressed with the cover crops and what was happening there. So I'm coming back, I'm like, what's old is new. I remember spreading medium red clover when I was a kid. Actually, it was a 60-40. But what's old is new, and I have my kids actually going out and seeding the clover for me now too. So, yes. So, thank you. I'll be around the rest of the day. If you got questions, I'm happy to help. And thanks to my buddy Nathan Brown. I didn't know if I was going to make it here in time. He was going to come in and pinch hit for me. So, thank you. Have a great day.